Do you know you could use Zillow to discover off-market properties? These hidden gems aren't actively listed for sale on the MLS, but they could be your next big investment opportunity. In this video, I'll show you how to find off-market properties on Zillow and strategies on how to approach these homeowners. So first, let's start off defining, what are off-market properties. These off-market properties are homes that aren't currently listed for sale on the MLS with an agent, but they still might be available if the right offer comes along. They're perfect for investors or buyers looking to avoid a lot of competition. And Zillow has tools to kind of comb through different types of properties to help you find these off-market properties and gather the information you need to contact the owners. So we're going to start off with Zillow's website in a second, and then kind of I'll walk you through some of the search features that it has. So we're going to do that actually now. Probably be an easier way to illustrate everything. So if we go here to Zillow, I just picked Philadelphia real quick, and these are all the active for sold properties in the area. And that is everything pretty much listed on the MLS. Now, if you want to narrow down your search to these off-market properties that I mentioned earlier, first thing to do is, first thing, make sure it's sold, set for sale, you apply. And then you want to narrow it down to any type of property types, like maybe just want just multifamily or single family or townhomes, feel free to do that. And then if you're only interested in like 3+ bedrooms or something else, feel free to filter on that. But I'll keep them unfiltered for now. And then when you hit more, this is where you're going to post what these other filters are and what they mean. And I'll walk you through now. So first is the list type. And this is, if you select this is basically, it's listed, but it's not listed with an agent on the MLS. It's a for sale by owner that you might only see on Zillow. You would want to uncheck these because these are on-market properties. These are listed by the agent and are on the MLS. New construction most of the time are listed that way too, so you can undo that. This foreclosure here is essentially an REO property. Zillow has a description of what this indicator is, and it's most of these are currently listed for sale, and they're also known as bank-owned REO properties. So the lender already took it back through the foreclosure process. These are just properties that are also off for auction. And then you have foreclosure and pre-foreclosure. And foreclosures are these are properties that are owned by the bank or the lender that recently took ownership through the foreclosure at the sheriff's sale in the county, and they soon might be listed for sale. And then pre-foreclosures is the last category, and these are the foreclosure proceedings already started, and the owners are in default, and the bank hasn't taken it back yet, and it hasn't hit the sheriff's sale yet. So these are coming soon foreclosures for the most parts, and they're scheduled for auction soon. So if you really want to strip them all out and just look at for sale by owners, you would do that, and then you hit apply. That's what pops up. And if you just pick a property here, click on it, again, you'll see, oh, this is actually coming soon. That's interesting. Let's pick this one here. This is a for sale by owners, another way that this will be tagged up here. This property doesn't have information, but owner does put some information in the description. You can see how long it's been listed for. And here the property owner listed their number. So this is someone you could just go through this list essentially in your market and call the owners. Sometimes they might not post their phone number. It'd be like click a link here and you almost send them an email through Zillow to contact them as well. So that's a way to kind of narrow down a list and get like for sale by owners or like a pre-foreclosure listing essentially on there. Another way to do it is, for whatever reason, if it is a pre-foreclosure, and let's actually go to a pre-foreclosure example. Go here, pre-foreclosure, apply, and pick a random property here. That's again a coming soon. Not sure where that popped up. Another coming soon. Did I pick the right one? Let's take this off. Pre-foreclosures. There are not many pre-foreclosures in the area. So here's an example one over the river, New Jersey, where it's a pre-foreclosure, and you can see there's no contact information. So how would you get a hold of the lender essentially? And one way to do it is, with this house here, this is in Cinnaminson, New Jersey. You kind of look at Google, what county is Cinnaminson, New Jersey in. You type in that county, and then from there, you could look up the address usually in the county, state, call it property records, Google, and they'll take you to a site. You click on it. You could, and again, it's going to vary by every county or state. and state, and there you could type in the address, and usually what pops up is the mailing address, the one who gets the tax bill, and that's going to be your homeowner. And sometimes it's going to be the same address of the property, sometimes it's going to be something else if it's like a landlord. And from there, you could then write a letter and mail to the owner of the property, asking if they're interested in purchasing their home. A great way to go after like a foreclosure. If you tried calling and they're not picking up, another way to do it is a direct mail and get in contact with those folks that way. So these are some filters that you can utilize in Zillow to kind of narrow down different types of lists. Again, the for sale by owners are easier ones. They'll usually put the contact information in there. If you have some kind of foreclosure property, it's another way to get a list. And then doing the due diligence by pulling the owner's information in the county site. So that is some examples in Zillow. Next, we want to look for is when contact, just a highlight, just because it has an estimated amount, here's a good example of this amount, doesn't mean that's what the property's worth by any means. So don't just use these Zestimate features on here. If you go back a few years, I think Zillow lost like $800 million trying to flip houses utilizing their Zestimate estimate. So don't just rely on Zestimate on what you think the house is worth. Do due diligence. For a property like this, you want to go into that subdivision, look at what other properties in this condition are selling for, or if you want to do renovations to it and it's dated, what's a newly renovated house go for? And from there, you can kind of figure out what you need to purchase it for after you factor in renovations, holding costs, financing fees, etc. So that's another thing to be mindful of. Just don't go off this estimate feature when looking at different foreclosure, pre-foreclosure numbers. And then when you ultimately approach the owner, if it's one of the properties that want to approach your owner, I mentioned earlier, you go to the public records, they get their information, you send them a letter most of the time, and if they get a call back, pick up and return the call, and you got a warm lead there for potential investment property. And then from there, it's just normal negotiations. What are they looking to get out of? And knowing your homework on what property values are on that market and as is condition and fixed up with the renovations you need to do, or if it's rental numbers and it's a rental neighborhood property that you're trying to pick up, having that basic market information numbers, negotiate, maybe you're able to walk the property with the owner, and then from there, you make the offer and you go to closing. So another way to make make it easy in Zillow is you can save searches. So if this is an area you want to look at for pre-foreclosures or just off-market properties, you could do like owner posted foreclosures, right? You could then hit apply, and then you could kind of like, if you want, I just want this area, right? Circle that, hit apply. You could then save your searches. That way you get submitted an email every time a new market comes up or changes. That way, you just, as a new property comes on, it sets an alert for you and you could jump on it right away, review it, and contact the owner if needed. So any additional questions on this, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. Hopefully you got a lot of value out of this, but at the end of the day, it's a way to another acquisition tool in your toolbox to acquire more investment properties if you're a real estate investor watching this. And, Zillow, it takes time. Sometimes there might not be, depending on your market, a flood of off-market properties on Zillow. So, but it is an easy and cheap tool to find potential off-market properties, like me and Paul have done so in the past. And if you have any more questions, or if you ever found an off-market deal, feel free to add them into the comment section below. Happy to learn and answer any questions. Thanks, and have a great day.